Have you taken a long, hard look at the people in your communities recently? Whether you're shopping in a mall or working in a large corporation or observing the kind of startups that are coming up, the rise of the millennial generation. I'm Anthony Pangilinan, and in this episode of The Boardroom, we look at this fascinating phenomenon that everybody's talking about, writing about, reading about. For example, this book, Fast Forward, the ultimate career guide for millennials on the move. It's a great book, but today we look at the amazing millennial behind it.
You are the first Asian apprentice.
After winning the first season of the Apprentice Asia in 2013, then 27-year-old Jonathan Yabut served as AirAsia's chief of staff, reporting directly to Malaysian business tycoon himself, Tony Fernandez. From his 10-year run as a marketing and HR professional, Jonathan now serves as the founder and managing director of marketing consultancy firm JY Consultancy and Ventures, where he continues to empower the youth of Asia and teach companies how to better hone the skills and talents of the younger generation. Both a best-selling author and motivational speaker, Jonathan Yabut continues to inspire the youth and corporate workforce to achieve greatness in whichever field they're part of. Jonathan!
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, welcome to the Boardroom.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. Let's do this. So from apprentice to professional to entrepreneur.
Yep.
What a ride Jonathan has been.
Crazy, wild ride, but
Describe
happy.
it.
Learned so much. I'm positive and very optimistic to move forward with it. So many opportunities have happened. And if I were to ask the question, would I do it again? Yes, definitely.
But let me clarify. Is there really such a thing as a millennial species of human beings that's unique like no other?
Yep, and I'm one of them. Just to set the record straight, Anthony, when we say millennials, these are the age 18 to 35.
Oh my God, I missed it.
All right,
Okay.
But it's also a state of mind, just so you know.
Oh, thank you for
So,
that
which means
assurance.
that anyone can be a millennial as long as you act and think like one. And when I say act and think like one, we're talking about folks who are very tech savvy, are into using multi-screens. You know, they're using their Excel sheets while they're checking their WhatsApp, while they're also answering an email at the same time. They love Insta-brag-worthy kinds of purchases. They love, you know, before they even eat their food, they don't pray anymore. Rather, they have to take photos of it first and post it on Instagram. Or when they brush their teeth at night, they believe that the world has to see that they're brushing their teeth. And that's a very important thing that the world needs to know.
So what's one good side, you think? One good thing about millennials that you are so encouraged today?
I think the millennials are very, leaps and bounds of energy. And the fact that when they want something so bad, because they've seen so many role models thanks to social media, they know that there's no reason to easily give up.
So what do we learn from this book, therefore?
Thank you also for raising that. This is my book, Fast Forward. It's a career guide. It's like a manifest on how to climb the ranks of the corporate world, but spoken from a millennial's perspective.
Now, since we're going to go down deep into this, I want breadth and depth. I don't think we can discuss it here. You're going to get bored here. I don't want to keep you bored, so we're going to keep moving.
Okay, sure. All right, let's go.
To the
Boardroom.
You got it. Let's do it. Jonathan, season 2 is starting soon, according to Tony Fernandez.
Yep, that's
What's
right.
one thing that you really picked up from Apprentice that is still with you now?
It was my first time to be implanted in a different country. And that's when I realized that there are many ways of skinning a cat.
First time, huh?
First time. I've always been in the Philippines all my career life. And I realized that the Philippines is so homogeneous. We do the same things the same way we want it. And when you start getting implanted in Kuala Lumpur, which is arguably a hot pot, of so many, like the Chinese, Malays, and Indians, you realize that there are many ways of communicating. There are many ways of emailing. There are many ways to approaching a problem, but it all goes back to the same, providing a solution. And it still works.
And this was the first time you went out of the Philippines, but then you never looked back.
Yep.
Ngayon pa,
right.
bisita ka na lang dito.
That's right.
Why did you
Right.
stay? Why did you decide to stay?
Well, a lot of things. Geographically, KL is very central in the rest of Southeast Asia. So having been based in KL, it's easy for me to fly 40 minutes to Singapore, 2 hours to Jakarta. And I'm off now to Kuala Lumpur. And most of my clients are around the region. So I can't afford to lose that extra hour or two.
The decision to move from AirAsia to go on your own, That was a major decision.
Yeah,
for you.
major. A lot of people question it actually because
To this day.
to this day. I think it's because people always saw me as that guy who will climb the ranks, and I even told Tony that I want to become the next CEO of AirAsia. But I remember one time we were having dinner in Hong Kong, and he told me, John, don't waste your talent. And he said, dream big, become like me, be someone that can make a ding in the universe. And I think it's your time because most apprentices only last for a year because afterwards they move on. And I was at record, I stayed for 3 years actually with AirAsia. But on my second year, Tony was already telling me, I think it's, you have the right time to move on and be on your own.
And it's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years so far, and the only regret I've made is how I wished I've made that decision earlier.
How has it been as an entrepreneur for you?
It's a crazy wild ride. I didn't know that it's the entrepreneur who manages the taxes, the HR payroll, and all these things. So
Because it was given to you as an employee, right?
Yes. I've always been an employee all my life. Like for the past 10 years, marketing, multinational company. So I was pampered with all these people doing things.
So what was the mindset? What is worth it about being an entrepreneur compared to being an employee?
I think I'm a guy who gets bored easily, and I think it speaks a lot about millennials. I'm that guy who says, all right, I've achieved this part, what's next? Come on, give me something else. And so every time I saw it's a challenge, I told myself, 5 years from now, when I look back, I'm just gonna laugh at all these issues I've had, starting up my own company and say, I've made it.
Dubbed Asia's millennial guru, Jonathan motivates thousands of professionals to help them reach their maximum potential. He is the first Filipino and only Asian to be represented by a global resource agency, London Speaker Bureau, so that he can help countries, not just in Asia, but all over the world, be all they were meant to be. What an honor for us to listen to the speaker speak to us more when the boardroom returns. Here in the boardroom, we normally talk to the people who work for our guest. But in this case, we're going to talk to somebody served by our guest, Jonathan. I'm referring to the Regional Vice President for Asia of USANA, Duday Gaston. Hi, Duday.
Hi, Anthony.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So how does this consultant trainer, Jonathan, add value to such a huge company like USANA?
Well, first, he is really the icon of inspiration for all our distributors and associates. A majority of our associates are millennials, so they can really identify with him. He has been successful as a corporate person, and then he became an entrepreneur.
What qualities do you see in this provider? What in Jonathan do you see in terms of qualities as a provider?
One is he is always reinventing himself.
Okay.
Every time he goes to another country and do a talk, there's always a different color of him that you see, which is good because it is a manifestation of people always wanting to grow, always wanting to learn, always wanting to belong, but most importantly is always trying to achieve success and be different.
From a generational perspective tayo, Duday, what can we learn from the Gen Ys, tayo mga Gen Xers?
One is, they can be very energetic, so we draw inspiration from them. Second is I like the Gen Y because they're very unpredictable. And they're very nice to inspire and motivate because they get complacency so easily because they get bored. After this, what next? So you have to always make them top of their hip, always trying to motivate them.
Which means you're also having to reinvent yourself. You
Yeah,
always
all
have
the
to think
time.
of new ways by which you get these guys on
Yes,
your
that's
side,
also
right?
true. That's also true.
So why should I use USANA? Tell me, as I wrap this up.
It gives you the energy, with especially you who are always working day and night. So that's good for you, and it's good for your skin. That's the most important. Yes.
Well, energy exemplified in you,
Yes,
Duday.
yes.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Well, that was Duday. Now let's go back to Jonathan with our continuing conversation. You mentioned you get bored easily. Is it?
Yep.
When I'm bored, so it's time to decide.
I've always been fascinated about this documentary that showed how successful people are fast decision makers. Steve Jobs, Anna Wintour, all of them have said, I'm not really that smart. I'm not really that brilliant. But what really makes me successful is when I'm surrounded with people who can provide me the right information, I make use all of them and I decide fast. I don't delay. Because I'd rather regret things that I've done versus regretting things I haven't done at all.
There were at least 3 things you were looking at before you decided as to why perhaps you shouldn't even jump ship. You're looking at your age, 30 ka na nun. You're looking at your genes, none of the family
that's
members
right.
were into this. And there was one more thing, the fear.
I was afraid to fail.
How do you overcome all those things?
I guess failure was the biggest critical factor because I was this guy who, he won a TV show, he succeeded with AirAsia, and finally he's venturing on his own. If I flop, and again, the audience would love seeing a person fall. That's what drama, tragedy is all about. But I'm the kind of person who always sees the prize at the end of the line. And I always tell people, whenever I motivate them, I always tell them this, you always take for granted what's the prize at the end of the line. You always see the challenge, and that's the most visible thing in front of you. You get fixated about it. You forget that, hey, remember why you wanted to start this in the first place. And for me, every time I see that, every time I envision, I have my cup of coffee, I see myself with a great company with more than 100 employees, I tell myself, it's not going to be easy, but you want this so bad.
How do you get reminded? How do you make sure that you don't lose sight of the vision? Is it something plastered on your wall? Is it something that...
Definitely. I'm a very visual guy.
Okay.
So I have this vision board. I have a calendar of everything. And I write down things. People take it for granted. When you write down things and you don't just settle it on your brain, it sinks so deep that you don't easily forget
Beyond
it.
the conscious, it goes to the pre-conscious, to the subconscious.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you write down the plans for the company that you now have?
Oh yeah.
JY Consulting.
I have an Excel sheet for it. And the great thing about it is I've documented it even 3 years or 2 years ago when I was still starting out.
Is it where it's supposed to be? Is it where you had envisioned it to be when you started?
Interesting question, Anthony. I never really thought that this company would go as big as I experienced it. But I guess things happen, and when you see the opportunity, you tell yourself, and I tell myself, this might be the last boat ride that I have to jump into. And so when I saw that, and I'm not getting any younger, I'm 32 this year.
Let's not talk about age.
Yeah, I'm 32 this year, and I have 3 more years before I end up becoming that millennial.
How did you define that this was going to be a digital marketing company that targeted the millennials, right? Social media. How was that decision made?
I've believed always in the power of harnessing based on your strengths. And for me, everything was falling into place that time. I'm good in marketing. I love social media and digital. I love the idea of representing the millennials. And so cooking it all up into one great recipe, it fell into place and say, I'm going to build a digital marketing agency that caters to companies who wants to promote products to millennials, harnessing the power of social media. And at the same time, it's not just about promoting the products, it's inspiring the employees of this company to promote the products well, because a happy employee is an inspired employee. It may be a weird recipe for it, but we cover both marketing and also talent optimization services, specifically catering to millennials.
After founding JY Consulting and Ventures in 2014, Jonathan started offering marketing and talent development services to various companies worldwide, including Google, Unilever, Microsoft, and USANA, who graciously hosted our talent today. Well, what are the plans of Jonathan in the future? Wow, it goes beyond 10, 20, 30 years. You'll find out when the boardroom returns. Jonathan got his economics degree from the University of the Philippines while depending solely on scholarships all throughout his schooling. He has committed, therefore, to help the less privileged children in this country and in Asia by making a donation from every book sold of his best-selling book, From Grit to Great, in countries such as Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia. As we continue our conversation with Jonathan, we find out his plans for the youth of his country and the region in the years to come. What keeps you inspired?
Every time I see that the love I've given to someone, whether it's a stranger in terms of mentoring or a relative, and I see that love grow even further, like bigger, that inspires me. The idea that I said something to you and it triggered you to become even a better person.
You use the word love, huh? Not competency, not value adding, but love.
Because it's every time you consume time for someone without even asking anything for it, that is love. And again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you've already loved yourself to the point that all you need to do is to give up that extra love you have for other people, then you're a self-actualized person. And
The love guru.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be venturing into that part, but yeah, why not? Yeah.
Convincing millennials to work with you, to stay with you, to grow with you. What's the key to that?
Whenever I do interviews with our candidates to become consultants for JYCV, I always tell them, we're not here to expect that you're going to be here for the long ride, for the long haul. So if you decide one day, fine, we'll be very happy for you. But in the meantime, we're going to give you all the reasons why you should stay with our company. We're going to give you all the development and the training you need to succeed, because whenever you succeed, we succeed.
What about marketing to millennials? This is something that you're also focused on, marketing specifically to millennials. What's the key?
This is very classic, but most brands always forget the fact that it's all about social media. The idea of being prevalent, the idea of being ubiquitous, the idea that the moment they type your brand name on Google search and your name doesn't even appear, you're not as credible as the next one. And we've coined this term, we call this Insta-brag. If your product is not Insta-brag, I take a photo of it and I think it's great to post it on Instagram, because that ice cream, that bag, or that gadget is something that I can tell to my friends, hey, I have this and you don't. It's what millennials are all about. So we can say that millennials are very vain to a certain extent, but that vanity can be turned into something positive, and that is brand engagement. The idea that you don't need to wait for the 6 o'clock p.m. news for an advertisement and pay for that big amount. A lot of things can be advertised for free as long as you have the right content and the right idea for it.
Now, managing all of these, how does that work for you? How does schedule management work for Jonathan?
One is you cannot manage time. Time is finite. You only have 24 hours a day. And that's what makes us equal with each other, no matter how rich.
So what do you do with your 86,000 seconds a day?
For me, instead of managing time, I'd manage my energy. If I can go for leaps and bounds because I do exercise, and for me, I never take exercise for granted.
I like this idea that the exercise for you is a non-negotiable meeting. Can you expand on that?
Most executives would think that, if I don't have much time, I will skip the exercising or gym part. For me, it's the non-negotiable part. I don't skip it the same way I will not skip important meetings. Because exercise for me is it's an investment to my body, to how I feel, how I think. And if you feel well, you will think well also.
But let's go back to local. When all is said and done, all this traveling will bring you back to Manila. The goal
Manila's home.
to eventually serve this country as its president is not just an idea, it's actually a plan for you.
A dream.
Woo!
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
Since I was in high school, I've always wanted to serve. I want to put structures, systems into place. And for me, everything starts with people.
So if you're the president now, what would your first priority?
Fix the government talent system. And that is, don't believe that the government is the last resort for you if you can't find a job. The government is a place for you to join because you want to get a great career. You're going to be compensated well for it, and you're going to make a career out of it.
Oh, the idea that government workers should think professionally as entrepreneurs is something you wanted to bring in.
I wish that the entrepreneurial corporate DNA will, and that's how great governments today in Scandinavian countries do it. They don't see serving in the government as something like, it's an 8 to 5 p.m. job. I'm just going to stamp what I need to stamp. I want people in the government to believe that there is a vision out of this and everyone benefits from it.
What is the key to becoming a great inspirational speaker?
That every person has his own individual reason to succeed. And that success should never be measured by how much you've gained in terms of financial terms. Someone who wants to become the most successful preschool teacher in Saigon is not inferior to someone who wants to become the next Mark Zuckerberg. Our measure of success is based on how we were raised, based on the universe that we operate on. And as long as you've given your best and that has created impact to the most number of people, that for me is already success.
And the role of Jonathan in making that happen is to
making you convinced that you have that power regardless of where you stand. Because for someone like me who came from humble beginnings, I want to be that proof that I've been making, and I want to continue making that thing in the universe.
I asked you how you wanted to end this. You said you wanted to give a message to companies out there, institutions out there, and how they engage with millennials.
I want to tell all CEOs and HR departments from all companies, whenever you hire millennials, don't hesitate to give them the power to succeed. Meaning, leadership trainings, development programs. Give them as early as you can. Don't wait for them to reach 40 or 35 because by the time they're ready to get that position, it's too late. Start them young and don't be afraid to loosen up and give them the chance because it's going to be a chicken and egg problem. If you don't give it to them now, then you're going to have the same reason that they will continue failing because they weren't given that opportunity. And I want to tell them that it is possible.
Well, it's been heard and well taken. Maraming salamat, Jonathan.
Maraming salamat. Thank you so much,
God bless
Anthony.
you, Mr. President.
Thank you also.
Mr.
Thank
President,
you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Start soon, go bold, and don't ever, ever quit. That's a message to all of us from Millennial Jonathan Yabut here at the Boardroom. Send. Join me again next week as we engage some of the country's top business leaders, innovators, and executives. I'm Anthony Pangilinan, and this is the Boardroom. Message send failed. Message sent. Don't